All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing today? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Great to know. Just so y'all know, we are recording. This will be available for on-demand consumption. So if you do not wish to be recorded, please go ahead and just catch that on demand or just stay on mute. My name is Abby Quinn. I am a Federal Customer Success Manager, and I am really excited about today's session because I am joined with some really good friends. I don't have to say the word colleagues. I know these folks really well. So Josh and Rima and Rocky, we've been planning this for a couple weeks now and are very excited to do this productivity showcase to talk about apps and how they can really be used in Microsoft Teams, with a little sprinkle of how we are looking forward to 2022 and what that hybrid workspace can kind of look like through digital transformation. So I'll go ahead, and I believe I started the recording, so we're good. Any questions that you have, we can throw those into chat, and we will be moderating those. We'll either answer them live or we'll answer them on the chat itself. So if you have any burning questions while we're talking, feel free to throw those in the chat itself. I'll go ahead and get us started on what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to kick us off with a little bit about some research I've done on hybrid workspace and what that looks like in 2022 and how that fits into Microsoft Teams. Then we're going to go into Rocky talking about some of the benefits of apps and Teams. Rima is going to touch us up on third-party apps and what that looks like. And we'll close today out with Josh talking about some custom applications that have worked in the government space that he knows about. And then we will go ahead and finish today with some next steps and resources that will hopefully really help you to spark the conversations that we're talking about today. So if you have questions, we want this to be an awesome time for you to ask those questions. Everything that we are talking about today is going to be government or GCC focused. So you don't have to worry about us showing you something that isn't available or won't be available very soon. So let that stress go. I did see a chat. Is everyone able to see my screen okay, or is it chopped off? I got a thumbs up. Okay, I got it. Let me try. I'll stop sharing really quick, and then I will try sharing one more time. You guys are gonna hear that music again, though. Is that better? Okay, I turned my camera off. Maybe. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I think we're just going to keep on rolling. If it really changes the ability to see any of the things, I will make sure that this is included in an email so you can have access to all the slides. But I want to talk about a little bit why we're talking about 2022 and this future that we're looking into, which is looking a lot more like it's going to look like 2021. So really exciting. 99% of HR leaders actually believe that all companies will implement some sort of hybrid workspace in 2022 if they're not already doing so. And that definition of a hybrid workspace really varies based on the organization. So that could range from flex schedules every week for their employees that are coming into the office, or even just as simple as a quarterly meetup that is still in person. All of those are varying levels of this hybrid workspace that we're embarking upon. So the one thing that is not up for debate is that Microsoft Teams and collaboration tools like it will be crucial in this execution of productive hybrid workspaces. And getting this right is incredibly critical because deciding who works from the office and how often, all of those complex questions and the way that you and your organization treat those is going to either be an extreme employee retention, mission critical possibility here, or it's going to be something that really pushes talent away from your organization, and you're not going to have as much productivity. So there is a lot of responsibility here to make sure that we are executing hybrid workspaces in a productive, effective, and inclusive way. And I think that's really where Teams comes in. So what does the future of Microsoft Teams look like in 2022? Well, as our CEO Satya so eloquently stated it, Teams is on its way to becoming a digital platform as significant as the internet browser or a computer operating system. So it's essentially, you have to have a collaboration tool. There's no other option. Teams or something like that, or like Teams, is on the desktop of every computer and on the mobile phone of every employee across the country at this point. I've personally seen organizations at the start of the pandemic who hardly use Teams at all. I've watched that Teams usage skyrocket in the last 18 months. And that adoption is a wonderful testament to our adaptability. But if you're not using apps within Teams, are you using the tool to its fullest capability? Absolutely not. And that's what we're going to dive into a lot today. So let's think back to why Teams was created. It was created because the way that companies and teams and individuals, the way that they collaborate and work together is fundamentally different than it ever has been. Especially due to the pandemic, teams are becoming so different. They're more diverse, they're more distributed. This changes the way that we work together. And as we work remotely, everything about the way that we're productive also changes, because people are now working across different time zones with different business hours. They work on different devices with different apps and services using different operating systems. Different. It's so overwhelming to think about from a day-to-day basis. And that is what's leading to this overload of activity, overload of notifications, and this concept called context switching, which is what we'll talk a lot about in today as well. This idea that you're going to be using Teams and then hopping into email and hopping back into Edge and then hopping into email again. I see we're still having some issues, so I'm going to share my screen in a different way, actually. Give me 2 seconds, everybody. Sorry, I was on a roll and I didn't want to stop talking, but I want to make sure everybody can see what I'm saying. You'll all see my beautiful December background.
Ooh.
Oh boy. I hope you guys are seeing the right screen.
Oh, we got to switch screens.
Yeah.
There we go. Sweet.
Okay. Let's see. I wasn't quite there yet, was I? Yeah. Okay. Can y'all still see me okay?
I'm seeing so much better. Thank you. That's better. There we go. All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right.
Wonderful. Okay. So I'll go back a little bit and talk about how we created Teams because everything was fundamentally changing. So we now have this consistent issue of constant information, constantly being online, an overwhelming amount of notifications. And I personally hear from all of my customers that they are just a member of too many teams. So we see how we're reaching this precipice where we need to find different ways to collaborate in Teams that works better for our customers. So that is really where we get to meet users where they actually are and discover we want to integrate apps into Teams. So as I said before, every team is different. There's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And the beautiful thing about putting apps into Teams is you get to create this opportunity where you can have a custom build. You can take your use cases, your business workflows, throw those into Teams itself. You eliminate that context switching. You give people better, easier accessibility across their tools, and you're giving people the opportunity to work where they already have been working. So it's not quite as new or mind-blowing. We can integrate different aspects of third-party applications and other apps into Teams itself. So with that ability, we're really that's what I'm talking about whenever we're reaching the fullest potential. So I am going to hand it over to Rocky now, who's going to talk a little bit more specifically about why it's so valuable to build on Teams. But Rocky, I'll hand it over to you. I'll keep the control.
Beautiful. And then the next slide will be my word will be coffee. So if folks on the call are like, hey, why is Rocky saying coffee? That's for next slide. All right. So for this one, hi, everyone. My name is Rocky Quack. I am a senior program manager, custom program manager inside of Teams engineering. My role is to make sure that you, as a government organization, are leveraging Teams platform to its fullest ability. So the importance of this is many of these organizations today, like yourselves, are leveraging Teams for collaboration and communication already, no matter where their workforce is. For many people, they start and end their day in Teams. Why not make their day more productive? Coffee.
Okay, yep. I'm coming. I just was trying to turn my computer or my camera off.
All right. So today's workforce, it's a hybrid workforce. And in addition to the things that are changing, it's going to be your workforce themselves. The workplace is going to change. It's going to be more mobile, more social, and more diverse. And then with the folks with varying generations, you have different depth of tech experience. And from that, your orgs, no matter how people look at it, the organizations in US federal, they are supporting worldwide operations, serving our customers, CONUS, OCONUS, and then they could be citizens or non-citizens. And Microsoft Teams has helped many organizations with business continuity, especially these past couple of years, by allowing their business to continue in Teams. Coffee. So when we talk about motivators, the government is an industry on its own. Public sector is an industry on its own. But if you kind of break it down, the government are a bunch of industries. And some of you might be working in financial industries. You're managing large amounts of money. You could be providing healthcare to our veterans across the US, or you're providing a professional service. From providing, the goal here is between the first 3 bullet points is that we're providing more value to a government service for your end users. With that, you acquire new and retain customers. And then best of all is that you're going to change and reimagine how users engage with your customer-facing products. And then lastly, for this one, there are opportunities for your organization to partner with Microsoft if you're looking to bring a solution that's collaborative, mission critical, and broadly adopted. Coffee. I think the slide builds.
Yep. There we go.
Beautiful. That's a lot of numbers. So for all of this, I mean, whether it's a first party app, a third party app, or a line of business app, right? When I say a line of business app, it's a organization built app. The whole goal of it all is to improve your productivity. Our goal there is to take the 5 steps into 3 or 2 or 1. And then with today's current tools, many times there's citizen developers that have aided their organization to streamline workflows because they are the most familiar with a specific process in their daily operation. An example with that it's a manufacturing customer. There was a frontline worker who does quality assurance. Their job is to check a product to make sure that it's free of defects, it smells correctly. I'm not going to give you a hint on what the customer is. But because of that, the way that they did their quality assurance check, they did it manually on a clipboard with a check, like go down line by line by line. And then later on, it was just filed away on a piece of paper in a binder and put away somewhere else. And then in the future, put into an Excel doc. Sound familiar? Yeah. So what she did was she partnered with her IT and she built her own Power App. A Power App is a low-code, no-code platform to build and bring it into Teams. So she built a Power App herself, got some guidance from her development team, and she was able to digitize that checklist. In addition to that, she was able to use the work phone and the work camera to take a photo of any potential defects. With that, they digitized a very big process, identified trends, and saved a lot of time. Instead of doing a check mark, filing it away, then later on putting data entry, she was able to use that. In addition to that, they built a great partnership, and now they have a center of excellence that continue to build apps to help improve productivity inside of Teams. And so the last point here is from a third-party perspective, if organizations don't have the assets, don't have the niche requirements or understanding, that in order to develop their own application, third-party apps could be an opportunity to cut down time to ROI as well. Coffee. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, that our workforce is more mobile, more social, and more diverse with varying tech experience. And then across the government space, you have various industries here from healthcare all the way to banking. Our goal is that to make your access to improve productivity much easier by meeting the users where they are. Thank you. Coffee. And handing it over to Rima.
Thank you. Hopefully folks can hear me okay. Good. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So hi folks, my name is Rima Reyes. I am a program manager as well in Teams engineering. I actually used to do what Rocky did, which was working with customers in Gov, which I love. I had a long history and I still continue to have a huge passion for Gov. I recently switched roles about a couple months ago and switched over to kind of working with partners and building solutions for Microsoft Teams. And I actually handle some of our regulated industries, including Gov. So I'm working with partners who are building apps specific for Gov. So I still have like that close-knit Gov connection, which I love so much. So don't worry, y'all aren't getting rid of me so quick because I definitely want to stay around. So today we're going to talk a little bit about an introduction into what is the Teams platform. I'm sure folks hear platform a lot. I mean, us Microsofties love to say that word like a ton of times. But when I talk about the Teams platform, what I really mean is that it's a set of capabilities that developers or even non-developers can actually build against to add custom experiences into Teams. So just as like Rocky was citing some examples, we've got a lot of partners and customers who are building Teams apps and having a much richer, more productive and more efficient experience when it comes to collaborating in Teams. So
Rima, do you want to use coffee again?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was like, coffee,
Got
which
it.
I love, by the way.
Got it.
Yeah. So when we think about using the platform into team scenarios, think about improving collaboration. So think about integrating either those line of business apps that Rocky was talking about or third-party apps that you can get from the App Store, which is available for Gov for GCC. Think about those apps that you want to have included in your environment that maybe will improve, co-authoring or will improve kind of having that extra data set right into Teams. A lot of times we have a disconnected experience where we have Outlook, we have Teams, and we have, like a website or a couple of websites open, and we're constantly kind of toggling in between all of that. And so when you're looking to integrate apps, think about these scenarios so that you don't have to have your users really kind of toggle between all those different apps on their desktop. They can actually have those apps directly integrated into Teams. Again, so other things that we're thinking about is, how do users share information? Maybe it's easier to have third-party or line of business app integrations to be able to have a user essentially add information directly into a chat without having to go hunt for it on like a website and then go copy the link. Like that's hard. That takes a lot of clicks, a lot of steps. If you have some really deeply integrated apps, again, users can find that information right within Teams and add that to a chat right away. Other scenarios that we look at is how do you initiate or integrate those workflows? So users do a lot of different things throughout the day, and Rocky was mentioning sometimes it takes a lot of steps to accomplish a certain goal. If you have those application integrations right into Teams, you can really kind of tighten up those timelines when it takes to get something done. We also have the capability to do some custom notifications in Teams, which provides just-in-time information to when the user needs that type of information. So for example, let's say a user needs to be alerted on a document has been approved and ready for the review. You can absolutely have an app integration that allows that notification to hit that user based upon your specific workflow or process. And obviously with all these apps, really want to improve the sharing of information and publishing of information across the board, just to increase transparency within an organization. Coffee? Yeah, so I love this screen because it really showcases mobile, and I feel like mobile is like the unsung hero. I'm not gonna lie, I was actually like driving back from a doctor's appointment right before this call, and I joined a Teams meeting right from my car. I have Apple CarPlay, thank goodness, and it just makes things so much easier to be able to work on the go. I was bored, I was on the highway, and so why not? Why not attend a Teams meeting? When we talk about digitally empowering your employees with Teams, we also have these app experiences that you can surface through mobile. So, a user doesn't have to relearn how to use an app in desktop versus mobile. It's all really a very consistent and unified experience. We want to have users to be able to leverage those same insights no matter what device they're on. iPad, which I have one too, or their Surface or their Windows device, whatever it may be, right? it doesn't matter. We want to have that same UI or the same user experience regardless, to make things easier for folks. So I will say coffee next. Okay, so let's talk about something fun, which is the future of apps in Microsoft 365. You'll see that there's more than just the Teams icon there at the bottom. We will soon have app integrations, and actually some of it is already available today in commercial and soon to come in Gov. We'll have app integrations in Outlook, in the Office 365 Hub, in Edge, and in Windows. So coffee, if you don't mind. Thank you. Yes. Ooh, I know, right? I try to do like a little like slide transition here. So when Teams, Teams has a lot of app experiences that are amazing today. We're having even more come out in the near future. But we had a fundamental issue, which was, having an app be showcased through Teams is great, but maybe we need those same app experiences in the other places that we work. Obviously, Gov, where else do we live? Outlook, right? I'm in Outlook and Teams all day long. So being able to have those app integrations directly into Outlook to, for example, like, add information from an app directly into an email, and send that off, that makes it so much easier for me than having to go find that information from an external source, copy and paste it, and bring it into where I'm already working anyways. And so we're looking at providing these end-to-end application experiences across all of M365. This will be for both work, for school, and for personal life. We hope to improve productivity across the board to enable these app experiences. It also allows for a very consistent user experience across all the services that you already work in today. And what we're looking at doing is having this unified development platform so that these folks who are building an app in Teams, they can essentially have that same app be surfaced through Outlook, through PowerPoint, through Word, So we want developers to build once and have it leveraged in multiple places versus having to build for each unique experience, because that's painful and time consuming. So we're trying to make things easier, like I said. So coffee. What I mentioned before is that we have these existing challenges, right? Like, even though Teams brings a lot of people together, right, we still have some siloed work that we're doing between Teams and Outlook and our Office documents and Edge and Windows itself. And so what we're looking to do is bring those disconnected experiences and actually bring them to be connected experiences. And we want to have end users to be able to discover these apps in a natural way. We want admins to have the capabilities to be able to securely either integrate them into the tenant or the organization, have controls, right? The right controls to allow, do they want this app or not, and how, who can install it, that kind of thing. And we also want to empower our partners and our customers to be able to build across the entire M365 stack. Coffee? Yeah, so the keyword for this is called Project MetaOS. And so again, this is to enable third parties or customers to build apps in a first party like way, meaning in a very native, natural way, right into M365. So you would have, again, one app that would span all of these services, using, obviously you can connect it to Microsoft Graph. It'll be available in all of our M365 hubs. And again, you'll have the same experience in mobile, desktop, tablet, whatever it may be. And we're hoping to also improve the methodology of how how an admin would deploy and secure those apps, dependent on organization needs. So that's kind of like the big thing I wanted to announce or talk about today. So I'll hand it over to Josh, and thanks everyone.
Oh. Here we go. My little hands. Applause. One time for the wonderful Rima Reyes. What's going on, folks? How you feeling? If you're still with me, before I introduce myself, okay, I got a thumbs up from someone. If you're still with me, throw a 1 in the chat. And if you're interested to see how you make your job super not as hard, put a 2 in the chat. Let's see, we got Angie says 1. What's up, Angie? How you doing there? Jay says 2. Everyone, Daniela, Timothy, that's my brother's name. You got ones and two, both of them, ones and two. I see a bunch of 12s just flying across the board. Okay, cool. Lots of love for making your job not as hard. Cool beans. Well, I'm your guy. So let's jump into it. So I'm Josh. What's going on? My job in federal is the fun job, but my slides aren't as fun as these folks' slides. I'm just playing. So we saw folks that were engaged with Teams engineering, who were able to directly tell you what the roadmap is going to look like for Teams, and actually can get a lot of your sentiment to the people that actually building it. We saw people who are telling you about the next wave of development. The wonderful Rima's talking about how we can build once and then it can be everywhere. We'll talk about how you can build once right now and what you can do with it. And we have Abby kind of hosting the entire thing, talking about why Teams matters. I'm going to tell you about what does it look like to put Legos to the things that you want to do in Teams, okay? And it's Teams platform is what we're talking about all up, but this is custom applications. So coffee, we'll jump into it. Look at my simple slides. By the way, I'm going to break out into a demo at some point, so you won't just be looking at slideware. Put a 3 in the chat if you want to see some cool demos. 3 in the chat if you want to see some demos and jump away from slides at some point. Christopher says 3. My brother's name is Christopher. Angie says 3. Daniel says 3. Boom. We voted. The wonders of democracy. So check it out. Platform does 1 or 2 solutions, these custom solutions, right? They either centralize resources or workspaces, so things that you would have to go outside of Teams to do. We can bring it right on into Teams. That's always fun when you don't have to digitally pivot. How many times have you kind of lost pace of what you were doing because you ended up on YouTube looking at cat videos, right? It happens to the best of us. 2, if you're not centralizing something, you're automating or modernizing a process in Teams via maybe something like a custom application, right? Where you might use a SharePoint list to keep track of something. Maybe we can add what we call a Canvas app that has a nice, cool front door to it. You can look at it, has nice fields, and that backs up in a way that that data is retrievable. So we're going to talk about centralizing and automating processes. And for the folks that put 2 in the chat when I asked that question around making your jobs easier, less time consuming, this is where you're going to want to tune in, okay? But I got a few more slides before we jump to the more fun stuff. So in the name of continuity, coffee. Cool. So real quick, before I jump into the capabilities of what you can do when you do a custom application, and actually let me take a step back. We're going to talk about customizing stuff, and the first thing people are going to think is, oh my gosh, this is cool, but how do I do it? There's actually resources on our side of the business to help you that do not cost you. We can put hours towards it to help you get off the ground with some of the things you're going to see. So never fear, help is here. Jumping back into it, there are 4 places that your custom applications can end up. They can be personal. A lot of times that sits on the left-hand rail right by chat, Teams, calendar, that left-hand rail that you see. And that's a really convenient spot for it to be. You can surface these things in group chats. So it's really cool when your application kind of follows you. And so that same functionality, that same automation, that same modern process can be in a group chat or a one-on-one chat. And then channels as well. And the new one, and it's not so new, but it's still kind of new because not a lot of people are adopting it just yet. And I'm not sure where it sits as far as it being in Gov just yet. Rima can tell us more about it, but meetings. You can have apps show up in meetings as well. You can poll people with things like Poly or Forms, and you can do other really cool things in meetings. So this is the capability that you have in front of you. And in a second, we're going to talk about how you tap into that capability. Coffee. Should say hot chocolate. This is more of a vanity slide, I'll be honest with you. Do not try to read everything on this slide. I'm just going to talk a lot. But there's a list of things going down the left and things you can do in Teams. We're talking about customized notifications. What would it mean to you if there was a process? Let's say there's an auditing process and a part of your application. Oh, Susie says previously we couldn't do polling within channels. Do you know if we can now or when we will be able to? We will jump to that in the Q&A section. Good question, Susie. What would it mean to you if you had a customized application and there was a workflow in the back end, right? And maybe as something happened, maybe a SharePoint list was updated, you got a notification and it came through your Teams activity, right? Would that be helpful to you? And you don't have to check Outlook or something like that. That's what custom notifications are. Those can ping and save you from pivoting outside of Teams. Talking about the fact that things can show up in tabs, kind of going down this list. Messaging extensions, really cool. We'll talk about some apps that have that. I'll give you a demo where you can write in a message and then pull dynamic information from an application or from a source without having to leave where you are and go to that app, right? And then there's such things as adaptive cards, which is just a really pretty way of saying I can present information in the way that's Josh proof, aka really interesting, to the point, and visually pleasing. And there's a ton of other things that we can do. The one I'm going to draw your attention to at the very bottom is pinning certain instances or destinations, right? Adaptive cards. Hey, Rim says she loves adaptive cards. We're going to do a quick poll right now. The idea of pinning, before we jump to the poll, is bringing things, centralizing things for you. And so one of the demos I'm going to show you is how we bring certain workspaces or destinations within your, I guess, your intranet, right, into Teams. How many people go to a SharePoint site, some kind of SharePoint site, repository, whatever the case may be, at least once a day, and it's off-site, like it's off Teams? Put a 1 in chat if you do that. Someone put a Y in chat. That's acceptable too. Sweet. Sweet. Susie, Angie, Diane, Timothy, Elizabeth, Kathleen. Okay, so you got to go there. What would it mean to you if you never had to leave Teams? You could jump to that SharePoint, and that existed right next to maybe the chat icon on Teams. If you could bring that into Teams and it was right next to the chat icon, you can just click there, get what you needed. Would that be awesome? Susie said that would be sweet, right? And then we have a GIF in there. If that would be kind of cool, put a 1 in the chat. I think so. And it's not just for SharePoint spaces. You can bring other things in there as well. We got Tina. What's going on? Christopher. Oh my gosh. Come on. I love The Office. So we're going to talk about centralizing some things. And it's not just SharePoint stuff. It can centralize line of business apps and all kind of other things. But I'll save that for the wonderful, wonderful demo. I got to get through these slides first. I think I got like 3 more slides. Coffee. I'm just building anticipation. Wouldn't it be crazy if what I showed you was not interesting at all? That's going to be fun. Can you hit the little, click it one more time? And then one more time. Yeah. Rima made this slide, by the way. This is Rima's slide. This is called recycling and reusing. So guys, there's a lot going on in this slide. The only thing that I'm trying to show you, oops. Uh-oh. Did we just manifest the enemy, Google? All right. It's funny. It's not a technical presentation without technical difficulties. It's all good. So
I was seeing how you could improv that, Josh. I was seeing what you would do.
there we go. There we go. That's it. I don't know how I did. But check it out, guys. Before I tell you, show you what we can build, let me talk about how we do build this, right? So Teams is this really cool kind of wild west platform where you can build whatever you like. And so there's 3 boxes to the left of this slide. If I had like my clicker, I'd be moving it around, but kind of focus with me. The first one says Microsoft apps. The third one says, or the second one says third-party apps. Don't worry about those. When it comes to that third box, right, it says custom apps. How do we build those? Over to the right-hand side, you're going to see 3 areas we build them with, right? Some of you all are going to have licensing for some of this, and some of you guys will not have licensing. Don't worry. Not everything that we talk about is contingent upon licensing, right? We can talk about what things look like on the back end when you follow up with us, but I promise you, you don't have to have licensing for everything. But if you do, that first box says Power Virtual Agent, Power Apps, and Power Automate. You can build a lot of things, a lot of really cool applications with those. And you'll be surprised at how simple and kind of Lego-like it is to use those. The second opportunity we have to build is some folks from Teams Engineering. They put together app templates. So app templates are kind of like starting points and a lot of times ending points for a lot of routine things that we find to be impactful in the space. We have app templates that are out of the box ready for things like bottlenecking the team sprawl that occurs when you first open up Teams. How many people have experienced team sprawl in their organization? Put a Z.
Hey, Josh, what is team sprawl?
Thank you. Team sprawl means there's a lot of people making a lot of teams for a lot of things, and sometimes some may not be as necessary as others. If you've experienced just a lot of people making too many teams, oh yes, Susie says, oh yes, there you go. Anybody else put a Y in the chat? Yes. There's a way to bottleneck that. And
I love Susie's enthusiasm, by the way.
yeah, Susie, we're right here. I want you to
know. I don't know if that's enthusiasm or.
Yeah, Timothy's like Z. Yeah, just put anything in the chat. But yes, so we actually have something out of the box ready for you that could function and bottleneck that. Now I should be demoing that. And there's a ton of other things. There's FAQ bots that will automate some of the question answering that you would do on your help desk or your service desk. And those are just starting points. We can take that as an initial mold and then tailor it to your agency to see exactly what you want to do, and just kind of make it your own. So you're going to see some starting points. And the final one, if you're super techie, is built from scratch. Okay, if that's what you want to do, or you already have something built from scratch, believe it or not, we can bring that line of business application into Teams. We can wrap it, so to speak. It's dependent on a few things, but usually we can wrap it, and you can have access to that. So you don't have to change what you do. You just get the benefit of doing it within Teams, right? Are there any applications in your space? Put a 1 in the chat that you think you would love to bring into Teams. Like something that you use every single day. Maybe it's a help desk system. Maybe it's reporting, something like that. 1 in the chat if that's you. Maybe, maybe not. Cool. Elizabeth says, oh, I don't know if I've seen Elizabeth yet. Okay, sweet. 1. Not one person.
Well, I
But
think
just-
it might help also to see it a little bit, Josh. I think that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I think I got one more slide and I probably swing past it, but these are the ways that we build these applications. And we're going to swing past this one too, because this is more of a vanity slide. So coffee. And I'll tell this quick story. I'm going to jump to some demos, okay? And I think we're doing good on time, aren't we? Sensational. All right. So I'm not able to, and let me take a step back. I'm going to share stories from customers that I can't say the name of, because I work across, just like Rocky, just like Rima, we work across the entire space. I'm actually unpinned, so to speak. So I see all the wonderful federal customers, but I can't say their names, but I'll speak to some of the capabilities that we did. So if you look to the left, it says a user self-service help desk automation. We did this for a customer, someone in the government, in the financial space. I can say that, right? Yeah. Take a stab at what agency that is. And so there was an HR ask, right? And 9 times out of 10, when there's questions about what happens in HR, you're either looking at a document that you may or may not find on SharePoint, or maybe you've centralized it, but you got to scrub it yourself and it takes a while, or you're asking someone in HR for that. Either way, that's man hours on your part or their part. You don't want to have to do that. We can have intelligent bots that can scrub that information for you, have queries, right? Q&A pairs that they bring out, and you just say, hey, what's the policy around X? And all of a sudden it pops up for you. We did that for this agency. And initially we drove about 140 plus questions into it. And I think we're over like 300. They keep on building their question and answer base as more questions get asked by end users. And now those end users are going to help desk less, and they're going to HR less. Really, really cool. The middle column says centralizing resources and modernizing internet. This is my favorite thing to do. This is where we got all the 1s and the 2s at first when I said, hey, if there's something that you have to step off of Teams to do that you would love to bring it in, wouldn't it be nice if we did that? We've done this for so many customers. One, this customer was in the health space. I can say that. Okay, the health space. They actually had about 10,000 people start to use this application within the first 30 days. Really, really cool. And it's not really an app. All we did was we pinned the hotspot resources, so to speak, these destinations on SharePoint that they will always go to the left-hand rail of Teams. And people found a lot of satisfaction in it. We put out a satisfaction poll too. And it was 4s out of 5s, right? People were like, I like this. This makes sense. Because they didn't have to leave Teams. They could get their information. They had one of the destinations was a document repository that they went to for forms and common forms and documents they needed. And then the other ones were news sites, and then site hubs. They can go to the rest of their intranet from there, and they never left Teams. So a lot of satisfaction here. This gets a lot of love. And then finally, it says tailoring end user tasking experience with Teams. So this is truly a customized approach. All right. And I won't be able to show this one, but this is something that we developed in-house at Microsoft for this customer from scratch. It's something called the Me Hub. And so the ask from this customer, who was in the, there's no one like this customer. They're huge. They deliver stuff to you. Anyway, there you go. That's all I can say. This customer, they were saying that they want a more me-centric experience in Teams to where they didn't have to go to Outlook. So we're actually able to bring an Outlook experience, kind of like an OWA, Outlook web app experience into Teams alongside their tasking from things like Microsoft Planner, and a few other bits and bytes. And it was just for them, and they could move these widgets around, right? And it was in this one little frame, and that was pinned to the left-hand rail form as well. So each person had this unique experience. This was developed by a wonderful guy named John Scott, and it's been put to work at this agency for like 3 months now, I think. Don't want to lie to you, it might be 4, but about 3 months now. And so that was a custom coded application. Really, really cool. So you guys want to see some of this stuff in action? Put a 2 if you want to see some stuff in action. Put a 3 if you need some coffee. Put a 23 if you like Michael Jordan and need some coffee, and all of the above. Sweet. Yep. Boom. All right. So let me get my screen ready. All right. Give me a sec. Sharing screen. I see 1, 2, and 3. Elizabeth, 1, 2, and 3. I didn't even know I said there was 1 supposed to be there. All right. Let's rock. Let's rock. All right. So hold up. Let me put your faces up here on my other monitor, and then I can see the chat. All right. So let me take a step back and remind you kind of what we're doing and where we're going. I talked about the things we can build in Teams. One thing I'm going to show you is a Power App. And so here's what a Power App would look like if you brought it into Teams, right? So this is actually the Requested Team app, okay? This is the one I was talking about. If you're experiencing a lot of teams being created in your space, you can bottleneck that, and it'll actually auto provision those teams. It's really cool. So a quick demo of what this looks like. This is a proper Power App, right? And we brought it into Teams. It's pinned right here. You can also drop this into your application store so people can download it of their own volition. But you would probably have something like this pinned to the left-hand rail, so everyone in the organization knew where to go to create a team. So this is what it looks like. I can come here, and there's 3 tabs up here. It says Approve Requests, My Request, and Request a Team. I'm an admin, so I can approve requests, but you wouldn't see this if you were just Joe user. But I can come down here, and I can come in and I can say, hey, I need to create a team. I can either start from a template, so you can templatize. Maybe it's a team for HR, for finance, or whatever the case may be. Or you can start from scratch. Either way, I'm just going to say template to make it easy. Oops. I can come here, and it brings me through this walkthrough, right? And I want you to keep in mind, it's not about this app, changing the way we request teams. It's about looking at what's possible for customizing apps in your space. So look at this and say, well, I know maybe I don't need to bottleneck the creation of teams, but is this kind of a shining star of what's possible? Keep that in mind, okay? So look what we can do. We have this kind of timeline we're working across. Come here, I can pick my templates. There's a bunch of them. I'm just going to go with executives because I feel important, or maybe, you know what, I'm just going to say company wide. And there's these these descriptions that we write down here. And on the back end of this, we've already designed what these templates look like, what the channels are going to be, what the name of the channels are going to be, if they're going to be private channels, all that jazz. So you set that up, it's configured, hit next. Oops, did I hit it? Ooh, let's try one more again. We'll try refresh then. Everyone cross your fingers. Boom. It's a no-go for whatever reason. I'll tell you what, I'll go to start and I'll start from scratch to show you what it looks like. Discard request. Let's say build new. Visibility, public, private. And I'll walk through the basics of creating a team. I'll give it a team, test. And this just brings you through the wizard of creating a team, right? I'll say, boom, it's like my favorite word. Boom, right? And here we go. Got to check availability of this name. So you won't have duplicate teams. Pretty cool. So that's a function if you need to check across your spaces, make sure you're not duplicating assets, right? Again, don't worry about what this is doing specifically for this use case. Think about the things you can do with other use cases. And then I can assign owners and whatnot. So I'm going to say Abby is the owner. She's fantastic. Then I think we got, I don't know if Rocky's in here. If he's not, so I'm going to try someone else. Let's say Victoria. And then members, please just let me be a member. Just trying to keep my day job. And so I've created this wizard. Now I want you to pause real quick. Yes, this is doing something for the creation of teams, but how many processes would sort of benefit from a walkthrough like this, and then they have to be approved, right? So kind of gives me a receipt of what I put down here, my team name, description, all this jazz. And then I can submit this, right? And the team you requested is waiting for approval. You can check the status by, look at my requests, right? And so there you go. Can you guys think of, before I finish off this demo, any process in your space that could benefit from walking people through this wizard-like situation, and then, maybe putting it into approval to where somebody has to come through and approve XYZ teams? Put a 1 if you can see this kind of be implemented somewhere else. Maybe not for teams or the creation of teams, but somewhere else. Is it possible to customize the walkthrough to provide notes on agency-specific team naming conventions and other notes? Yes. Yes, you can. Boom. Yes, Daniela. You can use, this is kind of what's possible when you dev a custom app. And so this is just a taste of it. I want to shift gears and go somewhere else. And keep throwing questions. If you got questions, throw them out there. Next to the comment, Raymond. All right. Let's go to, I think, this one. So how many people absolutely don't like email? Put an E in the chat if you don't like email. I'm going to put an E. If email is the bane of your existence, put an E in the chat. Hard E. That is a strong E. 2 exclamation points. What's up, Tina? And yeah, especially Rick. Whoa. Especially, what's up, Jay? There we go. Everybody's, yeah, that's the attention getter. Now, when it comes to email, it's like this unnecessary, it's a necessary evil because we got to read it, but we don't want to, right? At all. So here's what we kind of came up with, this idea that maybe we can put things that are super mission critical outside of email and people are more likely to read them. And we'll probably format it in a way that's less, okay? So check this out. If we look at this, I'm looking at something called Company Communicator. I'm not going to bring you through a full demo, but what would it mean to you if you can put out a blast and it cut through the noise of email, landed right in your chat, right? Maybe the place where you spend the most time in Teams. So we can look at this guy right here. And you could just see agency important stuff. So, we did some demos for some other agencies here. This is the House of Reps. I think FEMA's on here as well. Yep. And then DISA as well. So what would it mean if you can drop tight, short, impactful messages like this to people's chat and then send them off? So I can click here and it would send me to wherever I wanted to. In this case, that link went to Bing, right? So check this out. Let me show you how it works. Another custom application. Where are we? Perfect. This one sits within a tab. So remember I talked about apps can sit in different places. So far, we've been looking at personal apps on the left-hand rail. Well, this one sits in a tab on a channel, okay? And so this is for administrators, of course. And so you're defining explicitly who can do this in Azure Active Directory, actually, in the Azure portal or Azure Admin portal. So I'm one of the admins that can do this. And so I can say, okay, I can come here and I can push out these messages to the organization. Now I got something already kind of set up for you here in my draft. So I'll click it. And you can see there's a lot going on here. There's a title. It says Captain Kirk to U.S. government. Custom apps are here. Let's go. I was going to say Scotty beam me up, but I thought it was too on the nose. We have the image URL. We can pull any image we want from here. Put a little summary around what we're trying to say. The key here is to keep it short, keep it sweet, and link somewhere else. Don't do what email does and kind of puts a wall of text in your face, because then you're going to get something I just learned, TLDR, too long, didn't read. But we got the author. It can be from, let's say, Central Communications for insert agency. Oops. And then, what's the button title? I did put Beam Me up there. And maybe it can say something really impactful like confirm understanding and get resources. Oops. And get resources, right? I can spell confirm, right? Just to get people to click on this button. Kind of cool. And this is where that button is taking them. This can go to an intranet site, so somewhere in your SharePoint, or even external. I have it going to GitHub or Bing. It can be anywhere. So people are going to read this, and I'll say this is a draft. Read this and click on it, and you can send it to everything from a channel on specific teams, to a chat for members of a specific team, to everybody in the organization. It gives you the red and says, hey, everybody in the organization is going to get this. And you can even target based on legacy grouping mechanisms like distribution lists, right? So it says you can target people in their chat based on distribution lists, security groups, whatever the case may be. So if I typed in Conto, so there we go. This is a security group actually, right? And so you can use your legacy mechanisms of grouping people for sending out blasts, and it doesn't hit their email, it actually hits their chat. And so check this out. We're going to send it to everyone for the sake of simplicity. And now it's ready to go. I'll click this guy over here. It says send. It's going to say, are you sure you're sending it to everyone? And I'm going to send it off. And the cool thing about it is I don't have to look at email. I'm already living in chat. I can look at my sent messages. I see this is headed out. In a moment, it's going to give me a timestamp of when it was sent. But you're going to see in my chat, you see that red bubble? Come over here. Boom, there it is. Captain Kirk to the U.S. government custom apps are here. What would it mean if you could send things out across the entire agency, cut through the noise, hit them in their chat, and then have somebody click this button, which is a lot more interesting than a link in an email, and go where you want them to go. Kind of cool. Is that interesting? If that's interesting at all, put an I in the chat for interesting. Let's see. Christopher says pretty interesting. Yeah, Alexa's kind of interesting. Susie, I see you. Susie's been here the whole time. MVP. It's very interesting. Very I. Yeah. So these are some of the capabilities that we have, and we're winding down on time. And I wanted to show you something. Actually, I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to be selfish because I think this is going to be cool. One more thing, and then I got to pass the baton. And I'm going to lay the seeds right now. After this is all done, we want you guys to reach out to us because we want to help you build these things, right? And a lot of times do most of the heavy lifting for you. These things don't have to go straight into production. They can go into a test or a dev tenant that you might have adjacent to your production tenant, and we can walk you through everything. We have resources for you. So my goal, selfishly, is to get you to call on us to help you. So just keep that in mind, laying seeds.
There's a lot of people on this call from a specific customer. Just so everyone knows, I am the customer success manager for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So if anyone here on this call happens to work for that organization, you could contact me directly.
2000%. All right, last thing I'll show you, and then I got to pass the baton, guys. I hope you're not excruciatingly bored. This is a hub idea, okay? So remember when I was talking about centralizing things and bringing them into one place? This is the mother load. This is the best, all right? So if you look, I'm in Teams still. I can go from chatting to looking at my calendar to this stuff. I have this little icon called Hub. You can name it anything. Doesn't matter what it's called. You look across the top here, and these are destinations, actually. What are these things? We can put anything in the Teams. Remember I was talking about that Power App? Well, that can be in this hub, right? And there you go. That Power App request the team. It's loading up. That's here. But what if it's set next to maybe an agency news portal that you go to every single day? And this is a destination you guys go here to see what Miriam Graham wants to say about the organization. And you have your left and right back arrows. You can kind of travel across the site. You can refresh, stuff like that. And maybe, if we get really advanced, at some point you think about building a bot, and that sits right next to that bot. This is kind of the dream. And you can ask this bot all kind of questions, everything from what is Microsoft Teams to how old is George Clooney, right? And it'll give you an answer at some point. What's going to be the answer? What's going to be the answer? 60 years old, or so they say. Oh, I don't believe it. But what if you could bring in, and watch this, even web portals. So watch this. I'll click this right here. Now, I like Bing, because Bing stands for because it's not Google. You can search puppies, if I can spell it. And I can go from working to being even more productive, looking at puppies. It's adorable. And then jump into something else. And this is what I talked about when it comes to centralizing assets. So if that's impactful to you, I know I got to pass the baton. Reach out to Abby or one of us. And again, put a V if that's like very cool to bring all those things in one space. And with that, thank you for the time. I got to pass the baton. Abby, it's over to you.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen one more time, so bear with me as I switch the screens up and all that. Okay, hold on. Oh, I said I wasn't going to sing, but Josh, you sang first, so I'm okay.
Did I sing?
Yeah, you did, right when you started.
Then I'm so sorry.
All right. Can everyone see that slide now?
Yep.
Don't apologize. You have a beautiful voice. But I want to kind of piggyback off of Josh's engagement questions. I hope, did anyone here today learn something new? Put a 1 in the chat if you did. Please respond to me. It can't just be Josh, right?
No, it wasn't me. No, it was Tina,
Okay,
Angie,
awesome. There we go. There we
Alexis,
go. Great.
Elizabeth, Jason, William. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Good to hear. That's exactly what we wanted to do. We
Ooh,
wanted to
Liberty.
put some opportunities in front of you to see the art of the possible of what can happen in Teams, and to show that Teams is so customizable. We really did design it to be this thing that you can control yourself between custom applications, between the Me Hub. I hope that this showcased the ability to make this your Teams experience while also figuring out how to collaborate in the 2022 hybrid workspace environment. So if you were inspired by something today and really would like to have a conversation, please reach out. I'll include my email. And if anyone else would like to include their email, please feel free, but I will be happy to field those conversations. This is a great question that you could be asking your organization's IT department. These are good questions you could be asking your team. Definitely want to make sure that we get these conversations started. So really appreciate all of the time. Were there any other questions right now about what we presented today or how to move forward?
Jay says more vids on Power Apps, and then like Power BI and Power Automate. Okay, cool. More vids on that.
Okay, maybe a session on that. That's great. Love that feedback.
And then Joyce, or excuse me, Elizabeth says,
Yep.
when will all the customization be available to the VA?
We are actively working on that every day. But I can speak to anyone who wants to talk about specific customers offline. So.
But yeah, but I'm pretty a lot of what we showed here is available right now because we're doing it. I don't know per customer, but
right, and,
it's available on
and
other
each customer is going to have different restrictions put into place right now, and that's what we want to talk to a lot of our federal customers about. Is there's no need to feel like this is taking a huge risk by enabling custom application building. It's actually doing the opposite of that. So we want to start those conversations too and open up that customization for all of our customers.
Christopher asked, will you be providing us with the recording?
Yes, I'm going to throw the link to the YouTube channel into the chat here. I'll do that right now, but it's going to show you my Edge really quick. Hold on here. Move this over here. I'll throw the playlist in, and it'll be available as soon as this evening.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much for kind of sitting and absorbing a lot of this. It's not always the easiest to talk tech for an hour, but you guys are champs. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the engagement. Please feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
With that, anything else? Susie, I'm going to miss you. She was the MVP.
You too.
Definitely. Josh always is. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Y'all have a great rest of your day and weekend and holiday season.
Coffee.
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 There is an ending slide.
Oh yeah. And do we have a survey?
Oh snap! Yeah.
Yeah, I did. That's why I was like, coffee.
Great. Coffee. Got it. Please take our survey.
Thank you, Tina. That's so funny. You have this.